to the Author of the Week interviews for Indie April. Now, this week is the last week of April, which is a little bit of a shame, isn't it? Because I really enjoyed Indie April. I've not been on Twitter as much as I'd have liked, but Virginia here has been scouring the web for all you fantastic indie businesses. Now, our Author of the Week at Clovis this week, our final Author of the Week, is Virginia Crow. And Virginia is an author of historical fiction and historical fantasy. Actually, she does a lot more, but that's the stuff that she's published so far. I think there might be some fantasy coming up quite soon, like high fantasy, but we'll see about that. So before I actually before I start with the questions, I'm going to hand over to Virginia to just say a little bit about herself and what she writes. So, do you want to tell your audience?
Thank you. Yes, I love talking about my books, so this is a very easy thing to start off with. Like Clemency said, I write historical fiction, sometimes fantasy fiction, and sometimes obeying the rules of the real world. Let's put it that way, because it's still fiction, but it doesn't have the sort of mysterious side to it. You will notice my halo has returned. It's a bit strange sitting at this side of the interview though, and being interviewed. So if I am making absolutely no sense
like that
at all, then please sympathise with me, because like I say, it's very strange being the one who is being asked questions instead of the one who asks them.
If you haven't seen the other 3 interviews that we've done, Virginia's done them all. She's asked the questions for all of them, and she was a very good interview as well. So I have to live up to the job.
Exactly.
So shall we get on with the first question? Now we're going to do it in the same format as the previous ones. So there are 7 questions altogether. And the last one is a mystery question, so Virginia doesn't know anything about it. Virginia doesn't know what it's going to be.
I probably don't know anything about it either.
It should be a good one, actually. I've lined up something really good.
Right.
Okay, so number 1. Which is your favourite book that you've published so far? So for our viewers, we've got your first book was Days Down Glory, which is historical fiction set in the 19th century, in Scotland mostly, but it does travel to London and also across to the continent as well. And then the sequel, or the prequel to that, is Beneath Black Clouds and White, which was published last year, wasn't it? Mm-hmm. Crikey, time flies. I was going to say it was this year, but no, it wasn't. It was last year. And that is also historical fiction. And I actually really like that one. It's a really good book. It's actually quite dark in places, but you want something to get your teeth into, don't you? And that's actually about the abolition movement, isn't it?
Yes.
Yes. And your book this year, you moved into historical fantasy. So you wrote Caledon, which is set in Scotland just after the 1745 uprising. So it's really good, and fantasy is more my sort of genre. The other 2 books are fantastic, but I tend to go towards the fantastical the genres. So yeah, I really like Caledon. In fact, I actually read one of your short stories that was about Caledon today, didn't I? That you submitted for
That's true. Yes.
Yeah, it was very good. Very good. So out of those, your 3 books that you've published so far, which is your favourite?
Right, this is a really tricky one, because I will always have a soft spot for Days Down Glory, because that was the one that set the ball rolling, and I think in a way there's more of me in it on the sort of final finished product. There's more of me in it than the other ones have of me. So in that way, it was a bit like sort of bearing your soul. So I've got a real soft spot for that. But looking back on it now, and I do go back and I reread my writing. I'm terrible because I do just keep rereading my stuff over and over again.
That can be quite tricky though, can't it? By mistake.
Yeah, and I have found some mistakes lurking in Days Dying Glory. Just very small little things which I'm quite sure no one else really will notice. They'll just read through it, but now it's out there, you can't help but notice it. But yeah, so I have a real soft spot for that. But I'm not sure it's actually my favourite one. Beneath Black Clouds and White is definitely the one I'm most proud of.
It's a really, really good book, that.
I feel like I really tackled big issues of the time, but also big issues for now, sort of like the characters in the book looking forward almost to what things might pan out to be.
Yeah.
And I'm very proud of that one. It's quite I think it's a bit of an emotional roller coaster. So you're kind of up and down the whole time, and it's I can see it's probably a bit exhausting from a reading point of view, but you know, that's what I would like to read. So that's why you've ended up with it in your book, I'm afraid, because that's what I think a book should be.
And it makes you think as well.
Yes, yeah, there's a lot in there. Characters who are conventionally good characters, who have a very mixed up understanding on things, and similarly characters who you know are not good characters or good people, who are, you know, they see round things in a way that the goodies don't always manage to do. So it's quite, yeah, I think it's quite a deep book, but it's, you know, it is a tome. It's absolutely massive. So, you know.
But it's worth reading. Trust me. It's fantastic.
And then there's Caledon.
She's going to say all three, isn't she?
So Caledon was great fun to write. And I loved all the characters in it. Well, I loved all the ones you meant to love in it.
Favourite character.
Yes. Clemency's favourite character actually is the bad guy. I feel that says a lot about her. But that maybe it just means that I can write really 3D people who the audience just fall in love with, even if they're not
That's
meant
true.
to.
And it's not the main bad guy, to be fair. It's not the horrible woman.
Well, I love my characters in Caledon, and I love the setting because I've been there, so I've got a really good connection with it. So to answer your question, which one?
No.
Do I have a favourite? That was the question,
No,
wasn't it?
I think it was which is your
Which is my
favourite.
favourite? Which is
You've
my
got to
favourite?
choose one.
I think
And it could be however you're feeling at the moment.
at the moment, I would have to say Beneath Black Clouds and White.
That's really weird, but it's a really good book. But I prefer Caledon because it's my sort of thing.
Yeah, but you see, tomorrow I'll prefer Caledon.
Yeah.
But like you were saying about that short story that I wrote, so the premise of Caledon is that it's in the novel, it's the 7th incarnation of Caledon. So I've written a short story for which I've submitted to an anthology. I'll have to see whether or not it's accepted. About the 6th incarnation of Caledon, so the one before the book. And I think at the moment I'm kind of stuck between the two, so I'm not quite as in tune with Caledon at the moment as I would have been if you'd asked me last week. I would probably have gone with Caledon last week. Yeah.
But Beneath Black Clouds and White is a fantastic book. Okay, question 2 then. You kind of copped out of that one, really, didn't you? Question 2. So, you've published historical fiction and historical fantasy books so far. Do you have a favourite genre to write in?
Well, it's
Doesn't have to be
definitely
ambitious.
not horror. Because,
Do you want to explain to your listeners why not horror?
Right, this year I set myself 2 challenges. One of them I managed to stick to really well, which was to submit some piece of writing, whether it's poem, short story, flash fiction, or novel. I've entered some of my novels for competitions as well, and enter one a week for the whole year. So I'm sticking with that really well. The other one, which was probably a bit sort of pie in the sky anyway, was to have a go at writing in every genre I could think of. Try and write a book in all genres. So the horror story, I had the most amazing idea, even though I do say so myself, and it's a really good storyline, I think, but just putting it down on paper or on computer has just been an absolute nightmare. I just can't get into it. I don't know if it's the coronavirus thing, so everything's kind of thrown out or whatever. I managed to get the first 5 chapters, I think. I'm on to the 6th. But that's out of a lot of chapters. It's like 30 chapters long or something. So yes, it's definitely not horror. Horror is definitely not the one that I want to write. I love historical fiction. I just love
Historical
writing
fiction
in
or
it.
historical fantasy?
Oh, both. Yeah.
You gotta choose one.
Oh, I know. And I love high fantasy as well. And I have a thriller coming out at the end of this year, and that was also pretty fun writing, because with that one I could kind of just write it as I kind of knew the world today to be. So there wasn't the level of research. I mean, there were some things I had to research, which you will find out when you read the book.
Do read the book.
When it comes out in
September.
There were some things I had to research, but mostly it was very much about people who live in the here and now. So I was just researching things that happen now, and so much easier to research what goes on now. But I do love research. I love historical research, and again, it's really difficult because it's kind of the mood I'm in at the moment. So at the moment, despite the fact that I said Beneath Black Clouds and White was probably my favourite book, I'm going to have to say historical fantasy is probably my favourite genre at the moment, but something historical definitely.
Okay, because you really do love the research, don't you?
I do. I'm crazy about research. Yeah, I just get lost in it and go off on so many tangents, and a lot of the stuff that I actually research never makes its way into the book, but I think it sneakily does, because my characters become a lot more rounded. They know a lot more about the world they're living in than if I just looked up one event and kind of thought, right, they're here at this time, this is what they're doing. By going off on all these different tangents, I get to think about how they're thinking, and how someone they pass on the street might be thinking, you know. It's so in that way, I suppose it does kind of seep into the book a little bit.
Yeah, it's like you should plan every character's backstory, even if you're not going to put it into the book. Okay, question 3 then.
Okay. I'm sorry, I'm going on and on. I'm looking at the clock and it's like,
enjoying it. I'm hoping that the camera doesn't stop, that's all. Question 3. Aside from writing, what other hobbies do you enjoy?
Oh, right, okay, well, I have lots of hobbies. When I'm not writing, I'm usually writing. and then when neither of those things is happening, I'm often writing. I enjoy making music, so I'm a music teacher. That's what I do, like my job. Not at the moment though, because obviously everyone's in lockdown, so there is no job for me at the moment. But I'm very into making music as well as teaching it, so I'm frequently going through and sitting at the piano and playing away and singing along. and I love crafts, especially knitting. I really like knitting.
Get into knitting.
No, knitting is really good. It takes a long time to get anywhere, but then all of a sudden you're like, wow, look, it's huge, yay!
And you can knit really, really delicate stuff as well, can't you?
That's just patience.
Very, very tight stitches and very, very small needles as well.
Yeah.
Just think about those really giant.
No, those fat ones, they just really offend me. No. Yeah, so I quite like that, and I like drawing too. I'm not great at drawing, but I think I'm passable.
Oh, you're very good at drawing. I love my picture that you did for me of my characters. So you have quite a few hobbies.
Yeah. I think all very creative and artistic, and not at all sporty. Sporty hobbies, just no.
We walk Orlando, the dog.
Yeah, and that's nice, and I do like being outside in especially in weather like this. But no, sporty, no.
Okay, next one. Question 4. If you were a bird, what would you be? And you're not allowed to say crow because
does that
obviously
include all crow family?
Yeah, because we're all crows, so you can't be a crow because you are one already. So if you were another type of bird, what would you be?
I would be a. Ooh, I think I quite like to just be a gull.
A gull?
Yeah.
They're like the enemies of the people at Wick.
A herring gull. Yeah, I
snatch people's chips from them.
Yeah.
You swoop down.
Yeah. I love the sound the gulls make. I have a real soft spot for gulls. I feel like they get a really bad press, which is what you were saying in your interview that you were doing, or your presentation rather, last week for Our Own Right about crows. I do feel like gulls get a really bad press, but they are so atmospheric, and I quite like the thought that I could, make a sound that made someone feel as sort of emotively, I don't know, connected to a place that like I do when I hear gulls.
Okay, that's a fair enough answer.
You sure?
That's a fair enough. I mean, I'm a little bit shocked that you want to be a gull.
What did you want me to say? A goldfinch?
No, I know you don't like the little birds. No, the boring little birds are not fun. No, I don't know. I kind of imagined you.
Quite like eagles.
I could imagine you as an eagle.
Yeah, but
then they travel long distances.
Oh, but I love travelling.
You do, but yeah. That long distances. I suppose you do. Yeah. No, I think a gull is good.
A gull is good for me.
Although I did see some rather shameless gulls.
Plus, I love eating. That's another hobby. Eat and eat and eat some more.
Well, I learn something new every day. I do.
I think I've disappointed.
No, you're not disappointing me. You surprised me. And the fact that some of the children in my class might be terrified of you because they're terrified of gulls.
Great.
No, it's really good to see someone's good points and to see gulls as being good. Yeah, it's good. Yeah, I like it. Question 5. Which writing competition this year have you most enjoyed entering? So Virginia mentioned, I think in a previous question, that this year she is entering a writing competition every single week of the year. That's 52 weeks.
It's actually more.
52 writing competitions.
Because I do it every page of the diary.
Oh.
So on a month, unless the month finishes on a Sunday, then I have one at the tail end of the month and then the corresponding page for the start of the next month.
You really like to punish yourself, don't you?
Yeah, no. No, I just love doing it. Okay.
So which one have you most enjoyed?
So do you mean which piece of writing have I most enjoyed writing?
Yes.
Okay, well, I think in terms of, am I allowed a poem and
Nope.
no? Oh no.
No, I mean,
Yeah,
you need to
that
make a
is
decision
really
because it's
mean.
good for you.
Well, I have a story which I haven't actually entered yet, so I'll just count. Oh, right, okay, yeah, probably the one that I entered last week, which was for something called the Trenchcoat Chronicles.
Okay, so
So it just had to. It was a story that had a murder mystery that had to feature a trench coat.
I remember you doing that, yeah.
Yeah, and I went back to something that I'd written, 12 years ago? 11 years ago, I think. 11 or 12 maybe, years ago. I wrote a crime novel, and it never kind of went anywhere. I think I sent it to someone once and I gave up after that. The crime is really difficult. Crime novels are really difficult. There's just so much to look into and to get your research right on, and all you people who read crime novels, you're you know it all. So
you can't get away with it.
Yeah, I can't hide anything in there. My stupidity would show up immediately. But for the sake of this short story, I went back to this character that I'd invented for that book because he was a really good character, I think. He was a very plausible character, very believable, but not really a hero. Which I think you kind of want in a detective story.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I resurrected him from 12 years ago. I'm pretty sure it's 12 years ago, and wrote him into a short story. So I think I was probably most pleased with that at the moment.
Okay, yeah. Mm-hmm. So maybe we should ask you this question at the end of the year and see if it's changed.
Yeah, well, that will depend on how I do in the competition.
Can I just say though that when I'm teaching my class and I ask them what their favourite thing of the week is or favourite thing of the term, they always say whatever happened yesterday or the day before. So I think you would do the same. Whatever happened last week.
I have done another competition since then.
Okay, next question. What advice would you give to other authors? Oh, I have to give this one a bit of a background. So, because of the coronavirus thing, a lot of authors are in a bit of a tricky situation. And Virginia is one of them because she was due to appear at the Chimera Festival in Edinburgh in June. And I know you're really looking forward to it, weren't you? And unfortunately, obviously, because they had to cancel the festival, Virginia couldn't go, obviously. So I think a lot of authors are in that situation. And you've dealt with it really, really well. We've done... Oh, okay, right. I'm going to stop there and I'm going to ask you the question. What advice would you give to other authors who have had to cancel events due to coronavirus? Okay,
well, first point, be flexible. So the Chimera 2020 has decided not to run, rightly, because of the COVID-19 pandemic. But they've moved everything into a digital festival. So they are currently putting together their catalogue of authors, and at the moment I'm waiting to see how that goes, when I'll be. So be flexible to the possibility of doing things differently. You don't have to not do things, you just have to think around things and plan them in different ways. I'm quite lucky in the sense that they seem to know what they're doing at the Chimera HQ.
It's not always the case with some people.
It's not always the case at all. But I have to say as well, as as well as that, lots of people have really got behind the writing community on social media. I'm thinking especially about Twitter, but that's just my experience. I'm sure there are groups on other social media sites as well. So lots of new opportunities are opening up. It's not just that the traditional opportunities have closed down for this year or are moving away into a different area for this year. There are lots of new things opening up. So, for example, our own write that we did last week, where the people who ran it opened up half-hour slots to indie authors, and we were lucky enough to get 3 of those slots, me, Clemency, and Judith as well, and that was a really good setup. Plus, we got to do it from the comfort of our own home, which is really good.
It was good fun.
Yeah, it was a really good event. So things like that are really taking off. But so yes, be flexible. Go looking for alternatives, and don't feel like it's the end of the world. Most places, and I'm speaking as someone who is involved in the John O'Groats Book Festival here, most places, most book festivals are only seeing this as a postponement, not as a out and out cancellation. So if you were booked in to do something, your turn will come. Just stick with it and stay in touch with whoever has been your point of contact in whatever festival or event you have planned, and they'll, if you stay on board, they'll keep you on board.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I 100% agree with that. Didn't mention the fact that you sabotaged me when I was doing my session for Our Own Right, but we'll leave that at that. So now we come to the mystery question. Okay, so the mystery question, Virginia has no idea what it's going to be, and I've got a really good one.
I'm terrified.
Now, when we are driving around, we often put music on in the car. And one of the favourite things that we like to do, me and Virginia and Judith, is put on a song, whatever comes on, and we ask the question, who is this most like in your story? And it's a really good chance to chat to each other about stories and stuff. So I'm going to play that game with you just now. I have 3 pieces of music.
Great.
I'm going to play a little part of them because obviously, I can't play them all because of copyright and the fact that my phone charger is now at about 10%.
Yeah, I'm noticing we're getting like a little wiggly worm or something.
Oh dear. So we're just going to play a little bit, and then I'm going to ask you who in any of your stories, published or unpublished,
okay,
is this most like? Now, I think I've done it right, so I think that I've skipped the adverts. Okay. What about this one? Okay, so for those of you who don't know the song, that is Fatal Hesitation by Krista Berg.
Okay, yes, and probably shouldn't admit to the fact that I'm a bit of a closet Krista Berg fan. I actually really like Krista Berg's music.
That's nothing to be ashamed of.
Okay. That one is probably most like... Oh, there goes Orlando.
Yeah, that's not one of us.
That wasn't us
dog.
speaking. Well, this is really difficult. You've just put me on the spot. This is terrible.
This is the mystery question. Could it be someone in your story?
I think it might have to be someone from my story. So my story is a high fantasy novel of spectacular number of words, and many books, which will be published one day, but has its own website. So if you head over to, I think it's The Watcher's There. .com, I think. It's there, ready waiting to actually be published. And I think I'm going to go with... Oh, I think I've got to go with Canal. You see, she knew. That's why she picked it. That's because he is her favourite character in that story.
Him. Yeah, I love him.
Yeah, I think he still owns that song.
Yeah, of course he does.
As she knew, which is why she picked that song.
Okay, well, that was the first one. But I really don't know these next two.
Okay.
Well, I think I know the second one. So shall we do the second one first?
Yeah, we'll do that one first.
Oh, I really hope this is the right version.
Not recognising it so far.
No, it's the wrong version. Okay, right, we'll just go on to the third one.
Third one, okay.
This is because I couldn't play them earlier because she would have listened to them, she would have heard them, and she'd have known what the mystery question was, so I couldn't check it out.
Okay.
Okay, I'm pretty sure this is the right one because we spent many, many happy hours when we were little watching the music video.
Okay, yeah.
It's the Torches.
It is. Yeah, this is a really good song.
So wait till he sings the first line and then I'll stop. Okay, right. That was, for those of you who don't know, The Greatest Flame by Runrig. Okay.
Okay, right. So, I think that... Oh, it's really difficult though, because I never imagined the song to have the same meaning as I think the video has.
Well, forget the video.
Oh, yeah,
just the song.
Okay, so just the song.
Because if we were in the car and we were just listening to the song, we wouldn't have the video.
Right, I think... I think it has to be like someone who kind of breaks the rules with their relationship.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, so
you've got many stories to choose from and many characters in those many stories.
Well, since we've already had a story one, I'll leave that one aside and I'll go for someone Oh no, because I think it's very similar to a couple who get together in the end of a book, and I don't want to say.
Is it Days, Day and Glory?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that too.
Yeah.
But you've just